you'll see it all the time in a lot of these larger companies, these multi-billion-dollar companies, is you see the press releases a lot of times on LinkedIn.
Someone says, how would you describe a sole source?
Sole source. How would I describe it?
Yeah.
Okay, so a sole source is no competition, and you work directly with the government to shape the requirement from point A to point Z, right? So it's all the way through the process. Hey, Mr. Customer, um, we have a great relationship, maybe a personal relationship, obviously in the business world. Maybe it's not. Maybe you're just exiting the government. You're starting your company, but you've got this great relationship with the program office, and you're okay. Now I've got a new company. Now I'm going to broker some partnerships. Well, you want to go back in. That's why a lot of you'll see it all the time in a lot of these larger companies, these multi-billion-dollar companies. Is you see the press releases a lot of times on LinkedIn. They're hiring these individuals that come straight out of the government as from a director or whatever it may be because they're leveraging the relationships.
Right.
What you got to do, right? You got to leverage your relationships that you've had, that you built the trust over the years because they trust that individual. So you go back in. It's the same concept with you're a small business, and whether you're an 8A, whether you're a woman-owned company, it doesn't really matter. If you have a relationship somewhere within the government, you're going to want to partner up, whether it's with a individually owned 8A or a tribe, depending on the requirements and the size of the contract, and really walk the customer through the steps. There's about 8 steps, and on each of our clients that have those socioeconomic status categories, we outline those steps. What I always used to say when I was working with the tribal 8A is we're not really selling anything. What we're doing is we're solving a problem because the contracting officers are completely overwhelmed, they're completely overworked. And if you can take a solution to them that mitigates the risk, whether it's a company that's an incumbent, whether it's another small business got relationship, whatever it is, but if you can put that uh, business case together for them, for the program shop, 9 times out of 10, they're going to push it over to contracting. And contracting is looking for something like that because it's a every every one of them that you'll talk to, they're being honest, they don't want to deal with the potential protest,
Right.
and it's very taxing on them. It's a long grueling process. And so if you can bring a solution to the table that solves their problem for whatever that issue or problem may be, 9 times out of 10 they're going to issue that sole source, and it will be a direct award, no competition. Does
Okay.
sole source have to be 8A? So there can be other sole sources out there. You can do service disabled veteran owned. You can do woman owned. But I will tell you, in all transparency, those are much lower in terms of the volume that's out there. But they absolutely can be done. But the higher volume, when you start to look and you start to run the data and you start to do the analysis. In fact, I may have a slide here that I can pull up as I'm talking, Eric. But as you start to run the analysis, the tribal 8A, I think a couple years ago, when we ran some analysis on the various sole sources, I think it was somewhere along the lines of, man, I want to say like 40 billion dollars maybe that was sole sourced to 8As, and that's going to
Right.
be combined with regular 8As and with tribes. But here I've got this slide. Let's see if we by chance can pull this up, Eric. And if we can, I'll show it. If not, we'll keep moving.
Okay.
Let me see here. So share screen on my side. Okay. Window. Okay, let's try this. See if this popped up.
Yes, sir. I have it.
Okay, so, well, this is just an example of the SGA Insight tool that I mentioned. What we try to do is we try to put things in blocks and analytics and make it easy for people to understand. And so when you start to look at this, you say, okay, what this report's saying is, and what we wanted to run an analysis on here to build this dashboard is, What's the top 20 next codes? You can see that's 236220. That's construction. Then it starts to do professional services and IT 5400. But if you look at that, I was off a little bit. If you look at that, so 8A sole source 35 billion, 8A competed 10 billion, so on and so forth. You look down here, service disabled veteran owned sole source 105 million. That's still a great number. But it's just not certainly the number as the standard and tribal 8A business. Here's another one here. Someone asked about a joint venture. So I put this slide together a couple years ago for an event, and so they wanted to know the differences between the small to small and the mentor protege. So this one here should help people understand what that looks like as you put this together. I spent a little bit of time talking about that earlier. SGA Insight. So this is a little bit more. So if you look here, I'll tell you something really cool that we're doing right now in this. We've got a release that's coming out here, I think in April for this next round. We've been in beta version, and now we're really ramping things up. And so we're creating a scenario. So we've got chat integration, and then also we've got an ability for our clients to create customized profiles. So they can go in and they can put all the different things. Here's the agency, we've got past performances, here's our next codes, here's this, here's that. And it's pushing out across all of the data that we're pulling, and then it's identifying some of these customized opportunities. So it's a pretty cool process. But if you look here on this screen, everyone's familiar, I'm confident, with SAM and how that works on this phone call today. And so this right here, this is our view of SAM within our database. So we've created APIs, we pulled in all the information, because one of the things I always wanted to know is like, well, how many sources SOTs are out there? How many solicitations? How many awards? How many are out there for Hub Zone, service disabled? All of these different types of things. And if you zoom in and you can see this, that's really what this is providing here on the top right. This is just a dashboard from SAM. All of these are, frankly. And so one of the really cool things is say, okay, well, who's pushing all these opportunities out? If you look on the left-hand side, DoD by far, there's 64% of all the opportunities at the point in time we did this snapshot from our database. And then you can see where all the next codes are. So when you're looking at where to focus, where to spend your time, where to spend your energy, and the really cool thing about it is too, then you say, okay, because this is a dynamic table, so you point, click, it's interactive. So if I were to click on in the database, let's say DoD, everything else would be grayed out and all this fun stuff. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get it to the point so then you can extract that data to a pivot table, and it only has the information you care about. So if you say, okay, I only care about Department of Interior, I only care about this next code, I only care about, and then you all of a sudden you zeroed in. Well, the nice part about it is, if you're going to do, let's say, MailChimp campaigns or things like that, we do that all the time as well. If you guys are familiar with that process, and you're able to extract and find out the contract officers' names, and you're able to find out, say, okay, hey, Joe Blow is issuing tons of solicitations or sole sourcers or SDVOSBs within this next code. He's within this agency, et cetera, et cetera. And then you can stack those potential clients in an order of 1 to 10 and say, okay, there's my top 10. There's where I need to focus, right? So there's all kinds of tricks of the trade, if you will, to do this stuff. So hopefully that helps there, Eric.